Good evening, friends. And you're watching Weekend at 5 with me, Navdeep Kaur Marwa. Hope you're all safe, considering there were floods in the morning in Auckland, but the weather seems to be better now. Moving on, today, the March 21st, is World Down Syndrome Day. It is a global awareness day that the United Nations has officially observed since 2012. In December 2011, the United Nations General Assembly declared March 21st as a World Down Syndrome Day. The date, being the 21st of third month, was selected to signify the uniqueness of the trisomy of the 21st chromosome, which causes the Down syndrome. It is estimated that incidents of Down syndrome are between 1 in 1,000 and 1 in 1,100 live births in worldwide. According to United Nations, approximately 3,000 to 5,000 children are born with this chromosome disorder globally each year. This year's World Down Syndrome Day theme is #inclusion. We have with us Zandra Vaccarino, National Executive Officer of New Zealand Down Syndrome Association, to talk about the significance of the day, what needs to be done, and much more. Welcome to the show, Zandra.
Kia ora, good evening. Lovely to be here.
Same here, Zandra. Hope you're fine. Xander, to begin with, NZDSA, New Zealand Down Syndrome Association, has been working relentlessly to create awareness of the Down syndrome. So, what is the significance of this particular day, which is World Down Syndrome Day, for you people as an association?
Kia ora. Yes, the World Down Syndrome Day is really significant for us because it's an opportunity to actually discuss Down syndrome. It's an opportunity to address the imbalance, the discrimination, to talk about the opportunities for people with Down syndrome to be fully participating and contributing to our society. So this year we're really excited that the theme is called inclusion. Inclusion means because it's an ideal opportunity to actually have those difficult decisions that discussions that people might not always have about how do we actually include people? What should we be doing? How can we look at making it a more welcoming community that we live in so that all people with Down syndrome can be not just present but participating and getting involved and contributing to society.
Right. As you said, over the time, how have you seen the perception of society changing towards people who have Down syndrome? Have you seen a lot of change, or do you think there are lots that needs to still be done?
I think we need to celebrate successes, but we need to recognize that there's still so much to do. Some of the things that we can celebrate is deinstitutionalization, so that people with Down syndrome live with their families, they live in the community, they're doing things like you and I do. But we also need to recognize, Sir Robert Martin always says, an institution is not four walls, it's not a building. The minute you stop giving people choice and control of their lives and what they can and can't do, and you stop people from actually having aspirations and goals and developing their skills and being active members of society where they are actually able to contribute, they are able to participate, we are creating institutions. So we still have a long way to go because there are still people with Down syndrome that are excluded from schools, inclusive schools, even though they have the right to go to their local school. The school is not always welcoming. The school doesn't make things always accessible. They don't ensure equity so that children can learn. And those are barriers that we have to address. And I think there's still a lot of myths about Down syndrome that people don't understand Down syndrome. And instead of spending time getting to know somebody with Down syndrome and going, oh, I thought that about Down syndrome, gosh, I'm wrong, that's not what it is at all, we just live with our myths. So I think there's a long way to go to change those myths. You'll also be aware that New Zealand signed the United Nations Convention on the rights of persons with disabilities. And while it's a legal right in terms of all those human rights, we still find that we've got a long way to go because people don't get to enjoy those rights like you and I do. They don't have full citizenship rights. Again, as I said earlier, we may see them present in situations, but we don't see them participating, and we don't always welcome them to contribute and show their capabilities.
Right. And I just said there are a lot of myths and a lot of taboo attached to people with Down syndrome. People don't understand it. So what are the three things that the myths that you would break today? What are the three things that you would like to tell people about Down syndrome and people who have Down syndrome?
Well, I think the first myth I want to break straight away is the myth that all people with Down syndrome are the same. Well, that's not true at all. Just like you and me, people with Down syndrome have their own skills, their own interests, their own abilities. They have their own passions, and they have their own aspirations and goals for the future. And so we need to identify that and recognize it. I think the other myth is a real one that people with Down syndrome tell me all the time. I applied for a job and I'm a photographer. We're having a young man speaker up tonight, which is an online gathering where we're going to be talking to a renowned international photographer and positions as a photographer. And people have assumed when he says he can do Photoshop or he understands lighting that they haven't given him that opportunity. So he has the capabilities. So I think not understanding the capabilities of people with Down syndrome. And I think the last one, which is a real myth breaker, is this idea that if you do specialized and segregated, it will be better for people with Down syndrome to succeed. So when they're involved in local things that everyone else is doing, they're going to the local school, they're going to after school, they are part of community plays and sport and all the rest. That's where they learn best, not when they're at home or when they're isolated or when they're in a specialized environment. Oh
Okay,
dear.
Zandra, before, my last question would be, what will be your message to people the families of people who have Down syndrome? And, if somebody gets to know that the newborn has Down syndrome, there's a lot of, stress that comes with it, right? So what will be your message to people who get to know that their child is born with Down syndrome? Or, what would be your message to them and to the families of people who have kids who have Down syndrome?
Yes, I think it's always something that parents may not have expected, and so whenever we have news that we don't expect, that does create a whole lot of different emotions that we have. So the first thing is to say, whatever you're feeling right now, that's okay. There've been other parents that have been in the same place, but what I'd really like to share is what people with Down syndrome have told me when they know that someone's just had a new baby, and people have said, "What should we say?" And they would say congratulations, say welcome to the baby, welcome that you have a new family member, and understand that this little baby is. So I saw someone doing a video the other day, and was a person with Down syndrome, and they held this little baby in their arms and they said, "What a perfect little baby. It may not be what you expected. Yes, your baby has an extra chromosome 21, but it's a baby that's going to be able to grow up and do all the things that all other children have been able to do, and be able to have a good life." And the other thing I would say is please contact the NZDSA. We have support parents, and we'll be able to connect you to a support parent who'd be able to talk to you, explain things. Because I think once you're empowered and you understand about Down syndrome and you know what you can do for optimal development of people with Down syndrome, and you have the resources, and you're also connected to other people who have children with Down syndrome, people with Down syndrome.
Thank you so much, Zandra, and hope people are more inclusive of people who have Down syndrome and get as much help as possible from your association if they need anything regarding that.
We
Thank you so
welcome
much for
them.
your time today.
Thank you so much.